What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another party knife glitch guide tutorial. This time we're doing Into the Nest, and just first off, let me just start off by saying that we were originally going to do Engines of War. I kind of mentioned that a couple of times, but due to a single part of an otherwise fully functional glitch being super annoying and really hard to replicate consistently, I'm still working on that, so we'll see if that comes up as the 13th in the series. But for now, we're going to do Into the Nest, and in my own personal opinion, this is probably one of the most fun and interesting glitches I've ever done, requiring a total of 6 different teleports, 4 of which can be done with 2 career abilities, and an average runtime clocking in somewhere around 5 to 6 minutes. Anyways, allow me to present Warhammer Vermintide Glitch Guide 12. Into the Nest. Now, as always, we're gonna start off by doing a simple legend run, simply to showcase the basics on what it's all about. Now, in order to save a bunch of time during recording, I allowed myself to reset my ulti once right here in the beginning, which is why I just teleported forward to save some time, and just to be clear, that's not something I'll be doing for the rest of the run. Now, this teleport here is definitely the trickiest one you'll have to learn, but thankfully you do have several minutes before any minions start showing up, and I will be showcasing a montage of examples later in the guide once we get to the part about the teleportation techniques. Now, for this particular run, I actually kinda failed. I was super slow at getting to the right point of the teleport, but I chose to feature this clip anyways, since first of all, it showcases part of the struggle you yourself might encounter, and secondly, well, the rest of the run pretty much went according to textbook. Now, there are several ways to get through this invisible wall, but the most consistent in my own experience has been the one where you go around on the outside here, which is followed by a super easy no-brain teleport. Now, first of all, you don't have to worry about that boss spawn at all. It has no mechanism for getting to where you actually are. And secondly, you might have noticed that we're not going towards the Bridge of Shadows. This is because you have to activate the boss, Scarik, and remove him before you can win the map. But don't worry too much about that, because thankfully you don't necessarily have to fight or kill him, but we'll get to that a bit later. But you do, however, have to get to him in order to activate him, since otherwise it's pretty hard to remove him. Now, you want to be a little bit careful here, because you can get special spawns, but thankfully they really only have 2 directions to appear from, the front and the back, which makes it fairly easy to listen and notice which direction they're coming from. Now, once you turn this corner here, any special spawn is gonna come from the back, in other words, the way you came from. But we have arrived at what is arguably the most amazing part about this glitch, and partly what in my opinion makes it so interesting, because as you might recall, you need a lift in order to get from Scarik to the Bridge of Shadows. Now, thankfully this teleport isn't too difficult, however, you want to make absolutely sure you're not moving when you release the teleport, and if done so correctly, you're rewarded with this amazing stroll on top of the lift, with an absolutely amazing view. And this part just absolutely blew my mind. And the great thing about this method is that the lift is gonna be there when you need to go the other way. Now, you don't have to jump down here, you can keep going and do it in other places, but if you wanna avoid taking any fall damage, I found that the easiest way is simply to jump over here, down here, and make sure you land on top of this, because otherwise you have to waste the teleport. And once you get to this area here, you are likely to get a special spawn or 2, especially if you're doing a deed. But thankfully they can't really get to you, and it's a really good place to just clear everything out before you jump down to the boss, which we're gonna do on the right side here. Now, it doesn't always work, but the reason I'm spamming the come here emote is because sometimes the bots will actually teleport to your location, making it significantly safer to deal with sudden special spawns. Now, before you jump down and activate Scarik's Spine-Mangler, you want to make absolutely sure that you cleared out all special spawns and that your ultimate is off cooldown, since you don't want any distractions when we're pulling off the final teleport, which is arguably going to be the most stressful one, since you have to activate Scarik and do the teleport before he actually jumps you, otherwise you will be forced to fight him. In other words, before you jump down here, it's a really good idea to take your time and make sure that you're absolutely 100% ready and know precisely what you have to do so you're not wasting any time. Now, once you jump down, you want to move to this spot right here, then proceed by aiming your teleport underneath the fence and using an up and downwards motion in order to glitch it out. Now, this is probably the second hardest teleport to do, but mostly because you're under pressure. Once you actually get the mechanic, it's fairly simple to do, and the good thing about this teleport is that it's super easy to see whether or not you have it in the right spot or not. And once you're through, you want to rush your way over to the left. However, you might want to shoot him depending on the build you're running. If you do have the infinite dot, this is a way to ensure that he will eventually die. Because here's the thing, 4 out of 5 runs I've done, He despawns automatically, the Bridge of Shadows activates, you win the map, everything goes according to plan. But what I found out from testing is that sometimes, even though he has despawned, the game doesn't register that he despawns. And whenever this happens, the Bridge of Shadows won't activate, forcing you to run all the way back to the lift, teleport on top of it, forcing you to run all the way to the end of the lift, which should force the despawn, at which point you still have to run all the way back again, which is kind of annoying, I think we can all agree. However, for the most part, he is going to automatically despawn. Now, as you can see, his health bar is still visible. This means that he's still there, he still has not despawned. Or at the very least, the game still thinks that he hasn't despawned. Now, that's why the Bridge of Shadows hasn't activated yet. But as you can see here, the moment I got down here, he just despawned automatically, activating the Bridge of Shadows, allowing me to win the game. Now, because this is a fairly difficult glitch to pull off, I thought I'd showcase a different run before we go into more detail regarding the specific teleports. And just in case you want to skip this part, I've put some timed video links in the description. And just like before, this is simply a regular legend run. Although thankfully, I was quite a lot more successful with the initial teleport here, pulling it off in just a couple of seconds instead of the previous like 1 minute. Now, one thing I didn't talk so much about previously is the path you need to take to get from here and all the way up the mountain here. Now, you have to take quite a specific path, and it might look a lot easier than it actually is, especially if you're unlucky enough to get a bunch of special spawns to bother you. But this last part here, you have to move from this rock here, jump over here and be careful not to move too much because then you'll fall down, and then do a jump on the left side in order to actually get up and above the rock. Now, another reason I chose to feature an extra run is because I had fairly few special spawns in the first attempt. But it's important that when it happens that you don't panic. Simply find a corner, cover the angles, and wait for the special spawn to reveal itself either by vision or by sound. And again, if you get more special spawns, simply take your time. It's important not to panic. Again, just find a corner, be patient, and take out the specials as they arrive. Now, I feel like I've gotten a lot of comments recently on my Skip Brigade video from people feeling slightly frustrated that they're unable to really be consistent when running the glitch. And I think one major issue people have is they try to win on their first run, when really the first 2 or 3 runs should be all about learning, not about trying to win. Now, I'll feature a couple of more examples of this teleport, but it's actually fairly easy. The only important thing to remember is not to move after you do this second teleport. I cannot stress that enough. And obviously once you're up here, you want to be a little bit careful that you don't accidentally drop off the side, but it's honestly not too bad. And you gotta admit, the view is pretty great, although you should probably be careful that doesn't distract you enough to take a deep dive straight into the nest. Unless of course you brought your parachute. Also must avoid awkward silence for 1 more second. Now, as previously mentioned, you don't have to go down the same way I did, but as you can see here, you will take a little bit of fall damage if you don't, unless you want to use your teleport. Now, I didn't get any special spawns for this run here. However, I did have a horde waiting for me when I got over to the spot here, which again is a great place to just clear out everything from a safe distance. But let's just skip lightly past that part, as nothing of interest really happened. Which is also why I'm gonna spend the next 3 seconds which lack content, reminding you that there's a Fortunes of War glitch at the end. Now, I actually did a royal screw up here. I accidentally clicked F, which teleported me straight down to Scarrick, activating everything during an assassin spawn, which is something I cannot recommend. Now, thankfully I've done this enough times that I was capable of doing the teleport in less than 10 seconds. But yeah, that's not the way you want to do it. Now, for this one I had the infinite dot, which is why I made sure to apply it to him before I activated the lift, which admittedly is a slow process to wait for, but again, most of the time he is going to despawn all on his own, but you know, better safe than sorry. Now, I'm just gonna speed up the rest of the run, cause nothing of interest really happened. However, unlike the previous run, once I actually got to the end, I had to wait approximately 1 minute before he actually despawned. Now, at first I simply goofed around a little bit while waiting, failing in my attempts to teleport to an interesting location from which to wait, and eventually decided on settling up on this rock up here. And then roughly 30 seconds after, he seemingly despawned at the exact same time I got a boss spawn. Now, I don't know for a fact whether that was a coincidence, but the timing seemed to be so identical that I'm pretty sure it wasn't a coincidence. But keep in mind, this isn't a necessity in order for the boss to despawn, as this wasn't the case on the previous run. But regardless, I'm aware that this is quite a complicated glitch to pull off. And well, I don't want anyone here to feel like they're leaving empty-handed, and so many of you guys have been asking about glitches for Fortunes of War, which I've been reluctant to do so for reasons I'm not going to bore you with in this video. But guys, the impossible has happened, and I am in fact super freaking excited about the Slayer Mastery Guide, which I didn't think was going to be the case. In order to put more time and effort into that video, since this is more of a niche category, I've decided to do two things I wasn't planning on doing. Showcasing a Fortunes of War glitch and cutting myself some slack, which is why the teleportation techniques of this guide is simply going to be a montage of examples, which is hopefully going to be sufficient to those of you who decide to put in the effort. But guys, trust me when I say the Slayer Mastery Guide is going to be fucking amazing. But for now, I owe you guys a Fortunes of War glitch. And first up, all credit goes to I Am Lupo for finding and showing me this glitch. Now, there are several ways to do something similar to this glitch in the map, but for now we're gonna stick to my favorite, and the best thing is, it's so easy to pull off. And as an added bonus, it looks fucking hilarious. Now, if you just went, what the fuck, then welcome to the club. And if you're still thinking there's no way, like no way that works, I must be screwing with you, right? And well, whilst I am trying to lure you in by selling myself via a third-party advertiser in exchange for currency, in this particular scenario, no, I am not screwing with you. This works, and it's really that easy. And well, you can get to quite a lot of interesting places from here, but I'll probably leave the majority of them for you to discover yourself. Now, just to be clear, this is not a speedrun guide for Fortunes of War, and it's highly unlikely that I'm ever going to make one. And like, who even needs one? You can just chill around doing this all day. Fortunes of War? More like Fortunes of Winning. Like, it's basically a Sienna trampoline. And it's honestly, genuinely that simple. Like, the only trick there is to it other than standing and teleporting to the right location is not moving until you're completely stationary. At which point you can sort of use your career ability to scout out where there is a floor and where there isn't. And well, that's pretty much it. The montage of teleportation examples for Into the Nest is coming up in a moment. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I love you guys. Stay awesome. Peace out.
Some real red-hot moves, darlings! A nice warm hug! You'll know me by my trail of flame! You'll know me by my trail of flame! Trusty warm footsteps! Turning it up! Titannus and Gorgon! Cinder trap! Cinder trap! nice warm hug! The rattling's dead. That was enjoyable, but all things must end. Blazing trails! Alicia better be waiting. It's a long walk back. You'll know me by my trail of flame. A nice warm hug. On some real red-hot moves, darlings. Toasty warm footsteps. You'll know me by my trail of flame. On some real red-hot moves, darlings. Follow the flare, darlings. That all you got? Flame, walk with me. Unheal the fire.
Come, Nova assassins! Directly pick your heads!
A nice warm hug.
Assassins! Ha! Lowly Novas! Die!